So welcome back, CIS 157. We're going to be rather aggressive today, trying to go through the presentation. Obviously, pay attention to any postings I'm going to make either tonight or tomorrow. Let me check what the recording is doing as well. Our today's presentation, thank you, is going to be Introduction to Java Programming. So again, there's a handout and presentation. So I'm switching to presentation format so we can see individual slides. We were trying to say a few words about this particular sample here, just outline individual pieces of this program. But so let's expand, and hopefully we can talk about some particular syntax elements, some conceptual parts of it. And so over here it says that a Java program is a collection of classes. Now, I can tell you a few more things about it. Is that, of course, you know that Java program is a collection of files. You know that there's a source directory someplace on your system. You define, maybe you can define a package. NetBeans naturally does that for you. You know there will be another subdirectory with a package, and you know you're going to have at least one .java file in that subdirectory or folder, as they call them on Windows. So from that perspective, Java stores its source in files. But in each single file, there will be a class. And class definition, of course, looks like this. You have a class keyword used in front of the name. And then most classes that we put there will have public access qualifier in front of them. Then class also has an opening brace, just like this, right? It has an opening brace, and it has a closing brace. Because the combination of all other opening and closing braces here can be a little confusing, I prefer to tag the tail of my class with just simply a line comment / and specify what class that particular closing brace belongs to. But that's just a little trick to make maybe code more readable. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide, as we did. And it says that there is main method in every Java application. Well, for now, this is going to be applying to console applications that we're going to be writing, and the main method is going to be present in your code, just again as we had over here. It typically had this particular signature, and it allows you to get command line arguments, and it also specifies the public entry point into the program. So just a reminder. All right, so if we have just one class and we also have a main method, we can make it actually an executable or runnable Java application. Now, I prefer to name, if I switch to my NetBeans project and just say, okay, let's create a new project. And this is going to be Java application, and I'm going to name it, I guess, week 2 intro, something like that. We already said before that you can, that by default, it turns on the option to name your main class very similar to what that project name is, and it's going to create that class for you. But oftentimes I just change that. You can say this is main app, main application class. I typically name all of my, at least one file in my C++ program main.cpp because it will contain the main function, whereas in Java, I do something very similar to this all the time, main app, just to disambiguate the name of the package from the name of the main class. I just find it convenient. And of course, as I mentioned before, I will not accept the default prompt right here for the location, and will strongly discourage you from doing this. Always, let me check what drive I have inserted, E drive. So for instance, my portable drive is E drive, so I'm going to say E CIS 157, and I know that that folder already exists, so I am safe to go. So I'm just going to click finish now, and I'm recording this so you can watch this at home as well. I'm just going to create this empty project, and as we move along, I will try to make some adjustments. And I have trouble resizing it. Okay, resizing it. So for now, I will just get rid of these comments, and I will add them as we move along, but just to keep it as simple as possible, right? So in my case, save everything here. In my case, what NetBeans generated for me is the name of the package. We definitely can find that subdirectory someplace where the project is stored. There will be a source subdirectory above it, and then this is the name of my application class. If you have any questions, just hold your hand and we can talk about it. Next item here, how to code statements. Well, inside your main method, and the main method is pretty much the only method that we're going to be using today, maybe. Inside that main method, you will have a series of statements, because besides the fact that you have a class and you also have to have a main method, your really executable code is going to look like this. You know, you've seen this already multiple times, right? I mean, I'm repeating it again here, and I'm just going to say hello. Okay, so this is an executable statement. Executable statement, in my case, refers to an object, a method inside that object. This object happens to represent our standard output stream device, which is our console window of some shape or form. NetBeans provides its own console. However, we saw a way to run Java program from the command window, and it'll, if it's a console application, it'll be happy in that environment as well. And this is an argument that we pass to this print line method. And interestingly, this statement ends with semicolon. So if I created another statement, there, say, bye. So that other statement will be printed on the second line, but it also has a semicolon. So semicolons are part of Java syntax, and every statement has to end with a semicolon. So the semicolon, by the way, is not a delimiter. It's part of the statement syntax itself. Yes, question.
Why isn't there a semicolon after public static void main, etc.?
Why there's no semicolon someplace here? Or
Up above, perhaps.
over here?
Well, either there or
here. Well, the semicolon typically does not appear in places where an opening brace occurs. They sort of like mutually exclusive. For example, I can say here, if 2 equals 2, and do something here. You see how there is an if statement which tests some condition, and putting a semicolon here would be a terrible mistake, because instead I'm using an opening and closing brace, which is in a way forming a compound statement instead of a single statement, so that I can actually do this again inside here, and you know, the opening and closing braces formulate a one long statement here, which contains two regular statements with semicolons in them.
Is it fair to say that the closing brace substitutes for the semicolon?
In a way, yes. This closing brace is basically a mandatory syntax for an opening brace. There's both opening and closing braces always match. They're supposed to match. And in case of a semicolon, it's almost like doing this, right? But this is not correct, right? So you have to use a semicolon at the end of the statement that does not involve braces. So, good question. Thank you. It's sort of like clarification that you have to get used to places where a semicolon has to occur. Typically, we just say at the end of every regular statement, including declarations of variables, which we're going to see very soon, you must use a semicolon. If you see braces, you typically do not use a semicolon in that place. Interestingly, in C++, a declaration of a class will require semicolon at the end. But that's not part of our story here today. Okay, so it's not part of Java syntax. Also notice that NetBeans source editor very conveniently highlights matching elements of syntax for you. For instance, I just moved my cursor to the closing brace of my class body, which opens here at the opening brace and ends with the matching closing brace. And in that sense, it's just convenient, mere convenience for a programmer. Sometimes when I have a lot of code and there are a lot of things happening inside methods like main, in those cases I actually also mark endings like this, endings of my methods, just to show that there is an ending of it.